Hey friends, and welcome to something that I'm calling Around the Bend. Just a little something where we run around and discover and meet, join the people that make up the beautiful coastal bend. So won't you join us while we take a trip around the bend? What's up, everybody, and welcome to Around the Bend. Here we are at Key Allegro Oyster Company here in Rockport, Texas, and we're going to go out and get dirty, see what it's all about to farm some oysters. Come along with us. We're going to have some fun.
Key Allegro Oyster Company was founded only a few years ago, but they don't seem like a startup. They've spared no expense, and everyone here is a knowledgeable professional and a true team member. They're proud of the work they do and promote Key Allegro at every chance. I mean, that's how all of this happened. We had a chance meeting at a bar a few months ago, and we immediately all became best friends. So we told them that we wanted the full experience, and we're ready to work. We should have been careful what we wished for.
How long have you been doing this?
I worked at an oyster hatchery in Palacios.
Yeah.
Owned by the Ed Rochelle Foundation.
Okay.
Me and a guy named Rob Hine got that started. I did that for 2.5 years, and then before that I was working at Hart Research Institute for Dr. Jennifer Pollock in her coastal conservation lab. We did reef restoration.
Right on.
So I've been involved with oysters for 6-7 years now, but only oyster farming specifically, the last couple.
Very cool. Yeah.
That's our host, Cal. He knows anything and everything there is to know about oyster farming. After a short boat ride across the bay, there it was, 30 acres of glorious oyster farm. How do you choose where to put an oyster farm?
Accessible, feasible to get to, back and forth. You want protection from wind. Now, usually you can either pick a spot that you're protected from the southeast wind, but you're exposed to the north wind, or you pick a spot that flip-flops. We picked a spot so this is San Jose right here. San Jose Island. Right. So you have Cedar Bayou back over here to your left, and then Port A is down this way. So we picked this shoreline because we wanted to be protected from the southeast wind, which is predominantly what we have 7 to 9 months out of the year. You also look at salinity. So you can find a really protective cove way in the back of St. Charles or of Copano or something. You're like, oh, it's so calm here. It's perfect. The land's right there. Okay, but when it rains for 2 days, 3 days, how long does it take for that salinity to get back to 29, 30, 31 parts per thousand? Because you're so far away from a flush port. Because the Gulf's what equalizes everything. Right. So we get really salty. The Gulf's sitting 24, 25. We're mid 30s. Okay. And so when it rains and brings us down, the Gulf is going to fix our salinity, but we only have a couple spots where we flush. So we're pretty close to Cedar Bayou and to Port A. So when we get low salinity, a lot of rain, our salinity drops. It takes about a week, and we're right back up. Whereas the water all the way in the back of Copano, who's getting all the runoff from the streams and are so far away from the flush points, they could take a month. 6 weeks, they could stay at 6, 7, 8 parts per thousand, which they're just gonna close up and just go into survival mode.
Saltier the better, really. Or I guess there's a range.
There is a range. Yeah. Obviously, no rain for a really long time, and you get too salty. Right. That can have problems, but low salinity is usually a bigger threat than.
So we've had a lot of rain here recently. Are you low, high? You're just right now?
We got all that rain. I dropped 4 parts per thousand. I got down to 28, and that was what, 4 or 5 days ago we got that rain. Yeah. It's already back to 31 where I like it. I like 29 to 32, 33 is kind of what we find ideal growing. The taste is good. It's not too salty for our consumer, so that's what we like to sit at. But we obviously That's what we like. We have no control. By picking a site that's,
That's the thing about any farming is you're just
sure.
waiting on the weather.
You're waiting on the weather.
You're just it's like whatever.
Yeah, but
I have no control.
This is the farm right here. So everything you see, if you look around, we have these pilings. So here's a corner, and then we have pilings that come down, and there's the other corner. So that is 30 acres.
Okay.
It looks weird because I grew up, going, oh, my buddy's farm is 30 acres.
Yeah.
And you're
When
like,
you're on the water.
and then you're on the water, and you're like, this is 30 acres? It is 30 acres.
Yeah. So how do you start? You put these cages out,
Mhm.
and then what? You're buying the oysters. Oysters do they breed? Do they have babies? How does that work?
They do. So that's what I did before this. I worked they're called hatcheries.
Yeah.
And so you'll take, if you're going to spawn some oysters, you can take 100 males and 100 females, and you can spawn them a couple different ways, but the most common way is called strip spawning. So you're just going to pop them open. Which
Same way we do, right?
Right. Exactly. And you're gonna scrape the gametes out of them. You're put under a microscope. You'll be able to tell if it's sperm or eggs.
Okay.
You need more eggs than sperm. You can get a couple good males and a bunch of females, and then you're gonna mix that water together, and they're gonna meet and mate and become an oyster.
Other than the weather, what is the other biggest threat to oyster farming? It's like fish, sheep's head, dolphin,
Biofouling. Everything that grows on our gear is extremely hard and a huge pain in the ass.
Okay.
Barnacles,
Yeah.
squirts, wild oysters, the little spat I'm talking about, as they're floating around this time of year, they're sticking to our stuff as well, which we don't want that. The biofouling, it'll clog up the bags, so it'll make it harder for my oysters to circulate water and eat. And then it also makes it just harder to lift the cages into the boat because the biofouling weighs just so much weight.
Sure.
I mean, the squirts are all holding water. So that's a big challenge we face. And so we combat that with desiccation. So all these cages are designed to flip. So you see how behind you have all these cages down. That's called the growing position. They have oysters in them. Well, we have one cage that's empty, and it's up in the drying position.
To eat off all that biofoul.
But we will do that even with cages with oysters, which helps the biofouling a lot. And then I would say the third biggest challenge right now is the market. This is new. I mean, people have been buying wild caught oysters in Texas for the last 100 years that are this big and nasty and gnarly, and that's what their dad bought, and that's what their grandpa bought, and that's all they know.
Right.
And so we come in with a smaller, boutique, pretty clean oyster for a higher price point, and because of the efforts
It's
we
the
put
exact
in,
same thing we face in the beer industry.
Sure. Yeah, and people are just like, what is that? Why isn't it ugly? Why isn't it humongous? Like, why? That's less meat. Why am I going to pay for it?
Right.
And, so we've been facing those challenges. I think we're slowly starting to turn people's perspective, kind of force feeding them the first one. Just try it for me. Just eat one. Oh, wow. It's not all gritty. Oh, they grow at the top of the surface. They're not down off the reef.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, I bet it's less gritty. Oh, wow, it's actually got a really deep cup. We tumble them. We create that. They're not real flat like an oyster that's just been laying down with other oysters piled on top of it. So we're starting to turn the perspective. That's been reflected in some sales and all that good stuff, but we have a long way to go to really change, the culture, because it's been like that for so long.
It's really amazing how many similarities between raising and selling farm-raised oysters in Texas, which is relatively new, and the craft beer industry kept coming up. The hardest part about both of our businesses is educating the public. Not only is it hard to change people's minds, but just simply getting the news to the masses is a daunting task in and of itself. As Kyle educated us on the ins and outs of oyster farming, the crew was doing the real work. They had been pulling the oyster pods on deck, which are extremely heavy, and removing the bags to be brought to the tumbler building. These bags are full of grown oysters barnacles, and all types of biofouling. The tumbler flotilla was an impressive piece of machinery as well. It's built of 100% aluminum and fully self-sufficient using solar power.
So this is the tumbler you speak of?
This is the tumbler. We got 2 of them out here on the cabin, and so we'll bring oysters in off the farm that need to be sorted, graded, and chipped up and cleaned up a little bit. So we'll pour them in these hoppers. They'll ride up the conveyor belt, and they'll go through the tube. As you can see on the tube, we have different size holes. So
Okay.
Oysters are like children. I mean, you have some that grow really fast, some grow slow, and so even though you plant oysters at the same time in a bag, you're going to have some that outcompete the others. So we want to get those oysters separated with oysters similar to their size, and as they get bigger, we want to move them to a bigger mesh bag.
Okay.
So all these bags have different sizes. So small oysters go in a small mesh bag,
Yep.
so they don't fall out. They get enough water flow for the size that they're at, but as they get bigger, I'm going to up that gap in that mesh so that they can get more water, and,
Right.
and you know, because they're a bigger oyster, they need more water. So this process helps us to grade them out. It also chips up their shell. We're looking for that round oyster. We don't want them, you know, long and skinny, looking like a bunny ear or anything like that. We want them round, and we want the cups to be deep. So by chipping around the edges, it'll force that oyster to grow wider instead of longer, and be a more uniform shape. It'll also knock off some barnacles, other oyster spat, anything that's trying to grow on that oyster rolling around here in these tubes, hitting the aluminum itself or hitting other oysters. We'll just chip it up and give us that shape that we're looking for.
After the tumbler process, the oysters are sorted by size. They are then loaded back into one of 3 sizes of mesh bags. The smaller oysters are put in bags with a smaller mesh so that they don't fall out, while larger oysters are placed in larger mesh bags. The bags are only filled a third of the way up with the freshly tumbled oysters. This blew our minds, seeing as the bags we had just unloaded were totally full. I mean, packed to the rim. Amazing to think of how quickly healthy, well-raised oysters grow. The largest bags will next go to harvest.
Right now, it's pretty quick. So we're pulling them. We're getting them straight on the ice and getting them into refrigeration. They will run through a grading system. It's different than this, but they'll, you know, some of them will be too ugly. They'll look bad. It's more a hand sorting type of deal, and we'll get the best of the best, and they'll get boxed up and to a restaurant fairly quickly. I mean, we're same week harvests. So if you go to Doc Seafood and you order a plate of oysters on a Friday, the beginning of the week, they were on the farm.
Enough of all the chit-chatting, though. It's now time to get to work.
So open it up. We take the bungee and kind of pin it back to itself back here. And the fun part, you pick it up, flip it over, you're gonna dump it out. I like to check. Some of them like to hold on.
Sure.
If that guy's holding on, you can take your pick and give him a couple little taps. Dirty bags are gonna come out here, stacked in the corner, like that. They'll go back to land and power wash at another point. And then spread them out. Obviously, this is going to be on, so you know some are going to be traveling up. And you're looking for deads and doubles. So you find an oyster that's dead, it's going to get pitched under here in this fancy red tote.
All right. What's
And
dead look like?
Dead will be open. So
Okay. Yep.
dead.
Gotcha.
He's cracked open, nothing in. So he's gone. And then
Now we're off and running, sorting oysters, looking for dead ones and doubles. Doubles are oysters that are grown stuck together. If you find one, you use the pick and break them apart. Sometimes you can damage an oyster doing this, but one good oyster is better than 2 stuck together. Now it was time to take those freshly tumbled oysters and put them back in the water to keep on growing.
Perfect. We got our freshly tumbled and graded bags. They're gonna slide in. These oyster grow cages have 6 slots. And we want that bungee facing the pontoon so that when they're in the growing position, this flap is facing up. So I wouldn't want it to be down. You could lose some oysters through that. So
Gotcha.
bungee towards the pontoon. It's usually good to give them a little shake, give them a little flatter, and then boom. Let's slide it. Dump it right in the water. Perfect. Grow, baby, grow. Y'all are oyster farmers now.
Hell yeah. Thank you, man.
That's awesome.
That was
That's the
fun.
process.
What are the, what are some of the benefits that oyster farm is bringing to this? You spoke of the fish, bringing more habitat, but anything else? Water?
The biggest thing to me is what we're doing out here and how we're helping is we are providing an alternative to wild caught oysters.
Right.
So, everyone, a lot of people don't like to see the dredgers depleting the reefs. And that, it's a big topic here. And that's all great to say, okay, no more dredging, but people want oysters, and there's a demand for oysters. So if you're going to get rid of wild dredging, then or limit it or knock it down a bit, then there has to be a new way to get those oysters that's sustainable to replace that demand. And so that's what I love about oyster farming and growing them how we do.
And now, with a head full of oyster knowledge, it was time to head back and enjoy a few oysters and maybe a few cold beverages.
Show us how you do it.
All right, here we are.
Get behind that little.
Oh yeah.
So I've noticed there all these oysters, they seem like they're easier to shuck too. Like the gnarly ones, you can't hardly find the spot to get to.
For sure. So I think a lot of that's coming from that tumbling process.
Yeah.
And being that they're not growing all clustered together. They're growing individually, and then at the same time, we're tumbling them. We're keeping them in good shapes, and a lot of times their hinge on this side will start to grow up and kind of hook around.
Right.
And that's real hard to shuck. But in that tumbling process, that's getting knocked down.
Knocks it off.
And staying and making it an easier product to shuck. Look at the cup on that guy. Isn't that is to me what we're shooting for. I mean, that's a lot of meat, deep cup, pretty round oyster. It's a great size. That if they could all look like that, paid me a little more.
Pretty amazing.
We're getting there.
So what gives it the deeper cut? Is that from the tumbler, or
Yes, sir. It's from the tumbler. Given
it keeps it from getting too long?
right too long, it's chipping that edge and kind of forcing that oyster to grow down, grow wide. And while it'll still get bigger, but it won't be all its efforts on making it longer. It'll get more of that shape, and then a deeper cup. And the great thing too about Texas is while the tumblers do the best job, when they go back into those bags at that low density, we have such high wave energy. You can see behind us that we always got 10 mile an hour is a calm day. It's usually 15 to 20 out here. And so those cages are rocking around and moving, which means those oysters are rolling around within those bags, and they're chipping against themselves and against the bag.
Oh, gotcha.
Which is only helping.
Natural tumbler.
It's not quite as good as running through the machine and all the sizing, but we're getting some natural tumbling done. If we can keep those bags at a good density.
Very cool.
While you're doing that, I want to say thank you for taking us out today, man. That was a lot of fun.
No problem. Y'all had a good time, and you guys are welcome back anytime. You worked your asses off.
Appreciate it, man.
I'm gonna try one of these.
All right, there you go.
You eat some oysters.
Here you go, buddy. It might be a little cowboy cold, or a lot of cowboy cold.
Well, you see the work we do. We're not complaining. Beer's beer after you farming oysters all day.
Cheers, buddy.
Yes, sir. Cheers.
Appreciate you.
It's great to meet y'all. And,
Yeah, man. You as
and,
well.
Work with you.
We should do something again sometime.
I think next time we go to the farm, no Grundens, fishing rods instead.
There you go. It's on. Appreciate you guys stopping by Key Allegro Oyster Company. And It's true. It's a ton of hard work out here, but it's totally worth it. Beautiful product, beautiful people. We'll see you guys again around the bend. Cheers.
That does it for us. We hope you enjoyed this, and we'll work to make more videos like these in the future. A huge thanks to my friend Kaleigh and Kyle for helping out with this episode, and of course to Key Allegro Oyster Company for having us out. But wait, we're not done just yet. Check out our socials at Nueces Brewing for an upcoming event with Key Allegro Oyster Company. You don't want to miss it.